back to the afternoon session of the Law Societies of Hong Kong's 7th Belt and Road Conference. I'm Celeste Low, a member of the Greater China Legal Affairs Committee of the Law Society of Hong Kong.
I'm Kyle Ho, member of the Greater China Legal Affairs Committee of the Law Society. It is our honor to facilitate the afternoon session today. As a warm reminder, if on-site participants wish to have records of all the memorable moments of today's conference, you may scan the QR code at the foyer or at the back of your badge to browse the instant photo gallery. And next to it, it is another QR code to the digital booklet of the conference.
Sessions 2 and 3 will begin shortly. If you have any questions to the speakers, please mark it down in the question slip and hand it over to our colleagues. For those who are joining us online, please submit your questions to the Q&A session personally during or after the presentations. Session 2's topic is Promotion of Green Economy and the Use of Clean and Future Energy. Our moderator will be Ms. Careen Wong, Vice President and Vice-Chairlady of the 7th Belt and Road Conference Organizing Committee of the Law Society of Hong Kong.
And please welcome the following speakers to join Ms. Wong. And we have Mr. Joseph Chan, JP, Under Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, the Government of the Hong Kong SAR of the People's Republic of China. Ms. Corinne KATZ, Senior Director, Group Legal Affairs, CLP Holdings Limited. Mr. Gordon Lam, Chief Supply Chain Officer, Sinopec Hong Kong Limited. And Mr. Liu Hongpeng, Director, Energy Division, Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific of the United Nations. Mr. Liu is joining us online today. So our moderator and speakers, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kyle and Celeste. Our young lawyers, we hope to get them more opportunities to meet more members of the community. So we are bringing in our young lawyers to help out with the MC's work as well. So thanks again. My name again is Careen Wong. I'm Vice President of the Law Society and also a Vice Chairperson of this year's Organising Committee. And the speakers, we have 3 with us today in person and 1 online. I'm sure you will be very excited to hear what they have to share about the topic today. What is it today? Promotion of green economy and the use of clean and future energy. Wow, I can't wait to hear from all of you to share, but without getting them to fight for the mic, perhaps I'll invite them to share in turns, give a short, brief introduction or a short presentation on the topics that you want to share with us first. And then we will do the Q&A, and as you want to share your questions that you have, please feel free to let us know. I'll try to get our speakers to share on the topics, the additional issues that you want to ask, as many as possible. Okay, so let's start with Joseph, because your surname is Chan. So, but before that, just now, we all know that Joseph is our Undersecretary for Financial Services and Treasury from the government of the HKSAR of People's Republic of China. So how much more do we know about Joseph? Of course, we all know, but I still wish to remind myself the strong portfolio that Joseph has. Joseph has held multiple roles in a number of public and professional bodies before joining the government. And he has many years of senior executive experience in the banking industry. So for those of us who are doing banking practice, might be more interested to hear. Of course, Joseph has been managing director in many very well-established corporations before he joined the government, and he was appointed as the Undersecretary for Financial Services and Treasury since 2017. So without further ado, Joseph, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure here today with you all. In the next 12-15 minutes, I would like to first share with you the positioning and development of Hong Kong as an international financial center, because that's very important how we position ourselves in terms of providing financial services to serve the Belt and Road region. And then moving onward, I'll talk about the Okay, here we go. To begin with, we always talk about the strength of Hong Kong as an international financial center. And we always start with our strength comes from one country, two systems. I know sometimes it sounds cliche, sometimes it means different things to different people, but to the financial world, it means a lot, and it's very important, and I'll tell you why. Right? To begin with, under one country, we have preferential access to the mainland market. What does that mean? Well, these days it's a global village, right? If you put your assets under management in London, in New York, in Tokyo, in Hong Kong, you can invest in US equities from your Hong Kong intermediaries. You can invest in London or in Europe through your money manager in the United States, or so on and so forth. But then what's unique about Hong Kong is that under one country, we have preferential access to the mainland market. I'm sure you've heard of Stock Connect, Bond Connect, ETF Connect, Wealth Management Connect, Swap Connect, and also the private equity policies between Hong Kong and Shanghai. So for those who want to capture the opportunities of the second largest economy of the world, this is the place. And on top of that, under two systems, we have unique advantages among the Asian economies. Namely, first, we have free flow of capital and free information, right? I think for those here in Hong Kong, we kind of take it for granted that capital is free flow. But if you look around the region, actually most economies in Asia, they either have pressure or maybe certain control on capital flow or the convertibility of local currencies. But in Hong Kong, the free flow of capital and free convertibility of Hong Kong dollars are guaranteed by basic law. It's a constitutional commitment. So that if you look at the history, be that during 1998 Asian financial crisis, 2001 September 11, and also 2008 global financial tsunami, many other economies would have direct or indirect pressure on capital flow. And also some economy today will still tell you that local currency is linked to a basket of unknown currencies, meaning that the central bank or the government have full discretion to appreciate or depreciate the local currency at any point in time at their own view. Vis-a-vis, we have a constitutional commitment. One may ask, so why Hong Kong can achieve that but not other places? Well, first, we have 41 years of history of our linked exchange rate system. We never breached that promise over 41 years of track record. So that's very telling. And that's the financial security, financial stability that investors, trade partners are looking for. And also, very importantly, it's down to our strong reserve. At the moment, our foreign reserve is standing at around $420 billion US. How to interpret this number is about 1.7 times of a Hong Kong dollar monetary base, meaning that, I mean, in a frictional scenario, in a sci-fi Hollywood movie type of situation, even if all the Hong Kong dollars in a monetary base got wiped out overnight, actually we have 1.7 times of liquid US dollar backing it. And that's why everybody trusts our financial system. That's why over the 41 years, we can always stand firm on our commitment. And even today, if you look at the financial system, it's always been very stable, regardless of anything happening around the world. Indeed, it's also told by our resilient banking system. Well, as introduced earlier, I joined the government in 2017. Since then, every single year, we saw increase in our total bank deposit in the system year after year. Well, last year it grew by 5.1%, and this year for the first 8 months it's grown by 5%. Actually, for the first 3 quarters, including September, it grew more than 5% already. So it tells you that indeed, globally, investors are very confident in our banking system. Well, of course, here we are with the Law Society, and of course we need to talk about common law and our independent judiciary, which I'm sure all of you are no stranger to that. One thing I would like to highlight is that apart from all the rankings and recognition, I think from the business world, they also follow the local news. I believe some of my DOJ colleagues might be here before, maybe online, but anyway, I'll say that. Some businessmen told me what made them so confident in Hong Kong in our independent judiciary that the Hong Kong as our government sometimes lose lawsuits. We lose lawsuits on civil case to individuals, to companies from time to time, and this is the best testimony to our strength in terms of independent judiciary. And of course, we have a rich pool of professionals in Hong Kong, including legal professionals, but also want to touch on those who know the Chinese market. Because as I mentioned early on, one of the strengths is under one country, we have preferential access to mainland market. It's more than just the hardware about the connect schemes or so, but also the software. Well, Hong Kong, we have the unique talents who, on one hand, know how to interpret the mainland Chinese policies, who know about the latest trends on different mainland Chinese sectors and industries. But at the same time, they have been doing business in Hong Kong. They are very well aware and trained with the international practices. And that's why these professionals are very important to help global investors to capture the Chinese opportunities. And of course, Hong Kong, we all here enjoy a transparent and low tax regime as well. So under these one country, two system advantages, that's the foundation of Hong Kong developed into the leading international financial center in Asia, which ranked first in Asia and third in the world under the Global Financial Center Index. Now, apart from just one single index, by the way, if you might recall from my introduction, I'm actually a chartered financial analyst, and I'm still paying that $299 per annum to keep my destination, although I'm no longer practicing. So I believe in numbers, so I want to share them with you. If you look at equity market, last year by IPO, we were ranked number 6 in the world. This year, today, we rank number 4 in the world. Some may say, hey, we usually only focus on top 3. Gold, silver, and bronze, but Hong Kong is outside top 3. So why would you mention that? But we need to put in perspective. Last year, who were number 1 and 2? They were Shanghai and Shenzhen, the major exchanges of the second largest economy of the world, growing at 5% last year. Number 3 and number 4 last year was NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. They are the major exchanges of the largest economy of the world. And then here come Hong Kong, number 6 last year and number 4 this year. So indeed, we are right up there with the major exchanges of the 2 largest economies of the world. And of course, we are way ahead of the likes of London, Tokyo, Frankfurt, Paris, or Singapore. Capital market is more than equity, but also bonds. For many consecutive years, over a decade, we are the largest center for arranging Asian international bond issuance, meaning that for Asian issuers issuing bonds, they would come to Hong Kong to issue bonds for international investors. Over a decade, we ranked number 1 in that ranking. By the way, people compare to Singapore. Last year, we were 7 times of Singapore by size. And of course, as China's international financial center, very naturally, we have become the largest offshore renminbi center in the world as well. On one hand, we have the largest liquidity pool of offshore renminbi, and also we process around 80% of global's offshore renminbi payments. So that means we have a very matured market with different types of products, and also we have very deep liquidity to serve trade and financial needs as well. In terms of insurance, we rank number 2 in the world and number 1 in Asia in terms of insurance density. Actually, for the other calculation by insurance penetration, we rank number 1 in the world indeed. Who was number 2 in insurance penetration in the world was the United States, and who is number 1 in insurance density is also the United States. So we are kind of like head-to-head to the United States by these ratios. Moving on, we also have huge liquidity in terms of being an asset management hub. Well, I reckon I'm running out of time, so I'll try to move more quickly then. Well, these are quick figures. I don't want to go through them one by one, but I think 2 key points. One, we are the 2nd largest offshore wealth management hub in the world and the largest in Asia. By UBS report, they predict us to take over Switzerland's number 1 in the world in 2017. By BCG, Boston Consulting Group, they predict that to happen in 2028. I think the nutshell is we are the largest in Asia and we will become the largest in the world. That's not predicted by me, not predicted by Hong Kong government, but by various global financial institutions. So indeed, we are coming from a position of strength, and we are also coming from a position of growth as well in terms of asset and wealth management business. Well, I need to move on because today's is not just about Hong Kong's strength, but about Belt and Road Initiative, right? So, indeed, back in 2015, the NDRC already we have published the vision and actions on jointly building Silk Road, economic belt, and 21st century maritime Silk Road. And then moving on, as you know, in 2017, the Hong Kong SL government and NDRC signed the agreement between the NDRC and the Hong Kong SL government for advancing Hong Kong's full participation in and contribution to the Belt and Road Initiative. With this background, you can see on one hand, Belt and Road is developing very quickly. On the other hand, we are the leading financial center in Asia, so we are well positioned to provide financial services for Belt and Road countries. Moving on, I want to talk more about green finance, which is the topic of this particular panel. So, well, green finance or green capital demand is huge. It's expected that the global climate finance flows will reach $1.3 trillion already reached $1.3 trillion in 2021 and 22, and it will actually reach $9 trillion by 2030 on a per annum basis. So the demand for green finance is enormous, and Hong Kong is well positioned to capture that. Indeed, we are already the leading center for green finance in Asia. Last year, 2023, we actually topped the league table in Asia in terms of issuing green and sustainable bonds. We account for 37% of the market share. It's more than just a sell side on fundraising, but also on the buy side. If you look at ESG funds, at the end of first half this year, we have 233 ESG funds offered by SFC with a total AUM of close to $170 billion. Not only is sizable, but again, it's growing. The number of funds grew by 19% on year-on-year basis, and the AUM grew by 8% on year-on-year basis as well. It's more than just size and growth, but also we are an innovator. In fact, if you look at the new green financial products in Asia, the first ETF investing in Asian green bonds were issued out of here in Hong Kong. The first retail certificate of green deposits was actually issued in Hong Kong as well, within the Asia region. So you'll see that we are a leader, not just by size and growth, but also by product innovation. And that's very important. The reason is that a lot of Belt and Road development we're talking about is infrastructure projects. And these projects, they need financing. And these projects, when they come into sourcing financing, most of the investors are looking for green investment as well. So that's why, as Hong Kong is indeed the green finance leader in the region, we're well positioned to help channel the green capital around the world to support these green infrastructure projects in the Belt and Road region. Locally in Hong Kong, we have the target of carbon neutrality by 2050, and of course our motherland, the mainland China in general, have 2060 for achieving carbon neutrality. I think two last things I want to say. One is that the local government here in Hong Kong, we have rolled out a whole bunch of initiatives pushing green finance. For example, we lead by example by issuing government green bond. Since 2019, we are talking about issuing different green bonds across, of $28 billion equivalent with different tenors, as short as 1 year, as long as 30 years, across different currencies, US dollar, euro, renminbi, Hong Kong dollar, and different types, institutional tranches, retail tranches, tokenized tranches, so that we build an ecosystem. We actually build benchmark pricing for issuers to follow. And that's, of course, have helped the issuers to use Hong Kong platform, and that's also contributing to our leading position today. We also have the government green bond we also have a subsidy program for issuing green bonds in Hong Kong as well. Last thing then I would like to say is about international standards, which is very important. It's not just about doing business, it's about upholding the standards, because without standards, without confidence, we cannot go far. So in Hong Kong, we developed a roadmap on appropriate adoption of the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards for Hong Kong's financial services. In March this year, our Bureau, FSTB, issued a visual statement setting out the vision and approach of our government and the regulators in developing a comprehensive ecosystem for sustainability disclosure in Hong Kong. And then our accounting body, the Hong Kong Institute of CPAs, has developed the exposure draft for Hong Kong sustainability reporting standards. And they actually commenced the consultation in September and concluded it just last month. So with that, by the end of this year, we're going to roll out another round of draft to share with the public with the aim of launching the roadmap on the appropriate adoption of ISSB standard in Hong Kong by the end of this year. So, well, I think my time is up. So on that, I would like to thank Loso once again, giving me this opportunity, and look forward to the panel discussion when I can address any questions you may have. Thank you.
Round of applause for Joseph. Thank you. So I'm also a firm believer of figures can speak. Why we are Asia's leading financial center, Joseph has not just explained to us, but illustrated with very sufficient and very sound and real proven evidence as to why where we are now. Sustainable finance in Hong Kong, how we're doing it. And we take pride in having our first GBA-themed bond in Hong Kong. So that's how we try to do our part in Hong Kong for the green economy and this area. And last bit, I do echo a lot is standards and confidence, because in the Law Society, I also help to look after professional standards and development before I took a vice presidency. So that's something that I also believe as a professional standards, getting confidence from community, whether local or international, is very important for us to go ahead. So without further ado, let me move on. Now, in the 8 major steps announced by our President Xi Jinping, he emphasized that China will promote green development, including what? Green infrastructure, green energy, and green industrialization alongside the advancement of scientific and technological innovation. So who's next to share with us how these priorities will shape the future of sustainable development, clean energy, and technological innovation? We have a lady, Ms. Corinne KATZ, who is the Senior Director of the Group Legal Affairs of CLP Holdings Limited. Let me very briefly introduce to you so that you can look even more forward to Corinne's sharing. Corinne started her career in South Africa, where she was a partner in a national law firm. She then moved to Australia, also worked in a law firm, so we do have a lot of very good lawyers, not just working in law firms like I do, having a law firm like I do, but also in other businesses as well. And she was a group legal counsel in a very well-established enterprise in Australia, in the retail and information systems. And before that, she also do that as a group counsel. And since 2010, she was with CLP Group Limited. So what Corinne now does is to provide strategic support to the business, not just from legal, but from a strategic point of view. So over to you, Corinne. Thank you.
Not sure if you can see me. Thanks, Careen, and thank you to the Law Society for the opportunity to join such a distinguished panel today. The topic is one of key importance for us. The use of clean and future energy and the promotion of a green economy is vitally important. And in leading the legal function at CLP, I have the privilege of being part of the development and implementation of these things in real time. As in-house lawyers, we play multiple roles within an organization, and I think these roles have an inherent duality. We're both the guardian of the organization, but we're also an enabler of growth and development. And we work in the context of our organization as well as the markets in which we operate. For energy lawyers, this is a very complex, evolving situation as we're helping our organizations as they make their journey through the energy transition. I thought it would be helpful to start in the context of CLP. CLP, as many of you may know, is one of the largest investor-owned power businesses in Asia Pacific. In our home market of Hong Kong, through CLP Power, we operate a vertically integrated electricity supply business. but outside of Hong Kong, we hold investments in the energy sector in mainland China, Australia, India, the Taiwan region, and Thailand. And our mission in this changing world is to provide sustainable energy solutions for our shareholders, our customers, our employees, and the broader community. We're decarbonizing our generation assets, and we're supporting customers to improve their energy efficiency. This mission is embedded in both our strategy as well as our culture. So while we need to be doing the right things, it's really important to us that we do them in the right way. In 2007, CLP was the first private utility company in Asia Pacific to commit to voluntary carbon intensity reduction. And the group published its Climate Vision 2050. Since then, we've regularly strengthened the decarbonization targets, and we're committed to achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions across our value chain by 2050. In Hong Kong, CLP fully supports the government's goal to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, and we continue to gradually reduce our retiring coal-fired generation capacity with gas-fired generation and carbon zero sources. CLP would like to develop more renewable energy, but given Hong Kong is a small city, regional cooperation is needed to bring in more zero carbon energy, including nuclear and renewable energy. On the demand side, we're supporting our customers to save energy and to improve their energy efficiency. CLP was an early mover in the mainland's power sector as we started supplying electricity through an interconnection into Guangdong province in 1979. We've grown our business in the mainland over the years, and today we're one of the largest external investors in the mainland energy sector, with a focus on low carbon energy. And we aim to double our renewable energy portfolio in the mainland in the medium term. Our subsidiary Energy Australia is one of the largest integrated energy companies in Australia, and it is continuing to decarbonize its business. We're retiring the Yallourn Power Station in Victoria in 2028, and to support Australia's energy transition, Energy Australia is continuing to invest in flexible capacity, such as battery storage, to enhance energy reliability as that market decarbonizes. Meanwhile, our joint venture, Apraava Energy, is focused on renewable energy, transmission, and advanced metering infrastructure in India. So as you can see, our organization has a strong focus on decarbonization and achieving our Climate Vision 2050. And the legal team gets to play a really big part in making that happen. As lawyers, we get to help shape how deals are done, how they are structured, as well as how they are documented. And as we move into new business areas and new markets, we get to play a role in helping to develop the market standards while always keeping an eye on developments in global best practice. We, as a legal team, work very closely with our business colleagues to review investment proposals to ensure capital is being allocated in line with strategy, but also that each decision considers the environmental and other impacts that it could have. We're also safeguarding compliance with standards, regulations, and laws, with an overview of the expectations of our shareholders, our customers, and the community. We need to advise on the regulatory considerations and processes, as well as ensure adequate due diligence is being conducted, and that the legal, together with commercial and financial risks, are well understood by our decision makers. So to give a few examples of the kind of work that we've been involved in, I'll start with some key examples of investments which we've been working on, which are focused on low carbon energy development to support the energy transition. And these are projects like our new, more efficient combined cycle gas turbines at Black Point Power Station, as well as the development of the offshore LNG terminal, which enables additional gas sources for Hong Kong. We've also been working on the enhancement of a clean energy transmission system to enable the import of more zero carbon energy into Hong Kong. We're phasing out coal, and we're providing a growing range of energy services and solutions to enable customers to improve their energy efficiency. And key examples in Hong Kong and the GBA are through our subsidiary CLPE, which has been implementing a range of energy-as-a-service solutions covering solar, battery, and cooling systems. And the innovative nature of these businesses and the new business models has actually required really deep involvement from the legal team. We've had to help ensure that the commercial structures that the teams come up with can actually be implemented in a workable way to achieve the desired outcomes. We've also, for many years, been focused on non-carbon energy investments, from nuclear in the mainland to renewable energy and storage investments in various jurisdictions. And the legal team gets to work on both greenfield development as well as M&A transactions. And we need to keep close to the regulatory framework in each jurisdiction to ensure that we can come up with deal structures that comply with those regulations, but are also flexible enough to allow the organization to meet its objectives. And now we've moved into the corporate PPA space, where we're providing commercial customers with renewable energy and green electricity certificates using our wind and solar projects on the mainland. And this is an example of new market opportunities and business models opening up for energy providers as the economy decarbonizes. And finally, I have to mention that obviously our organization needs to keep on top of technology development. And we help the business make investments in new technologies to see what is being developed and also to be in a strategic position so that we can pilot these technologies where we can. And we do this via venture capital fund investments as well as direct investments across a number of different jurisdictions. Now, all of this work needs to be financed. And if we look into the area of sustainable finance, as lawyers, we again have a role to help structure transactions so that they are consistent with sustainable finance principles. At CLP, we have our own climate finance action framework, and the framework supports the transition to a low-carbon economy by attracting socially responsible finance that can be used for investments which reduce carbon emissions and increase energy efficiency. The framework sets out how we propose to raise climate action finance and how we propose to use the proceeds to invest in projects which are consistent with our group's strategy to respond to climate change challenges. We've got two types of climate action finance transactions. The first, which we call energy transition finance transactions, provide financing for decarbonization projects, such as the new natural gas-fired power plants, which are needed to enable transition to a lower carbon electricity supply by allowing coal-fired power stations to be retired. In the long term, gas-fired generation may be converted to run on green hydrogen, a zero-carbon fuel. The second type of transaction is the new energy finance transaction, and the proceeds of these are used to finance investments in the generation of energy from renewable energy sources, in improvements in energy efficiency, such as smart grid or smart metering systems, as well as in low-carbon transport infrastructure, such as dedicated EV charging. All of these projects, in order to qualify under our framework, go through a rigorous review and approval process, and all of the proceeds must clearly deliver environmental benefits through investments that are qualified through the screening process. We track the use of proceeds and we report them in our annual climate action finance framework. Outside of the framework, CLP Power and Capco, two of our key subsidiaries, have started incorporating sustainability elements into their banking facilities that support general business operations. Performance targets for those arrangements are linked to annual maximum output level for air emissions, including sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and respirable suspended particulates. Now, all of this work is done within a regulatory framework that's constantly evolving. And so we've set up processes to ensure we can keep across it, and that where required, we can provide practical, timely training to the business, checklists and other tools to ensure that they're equipped to manage compliance. We work closely with policymakers in the operating markets to support their objectives through business activities that are designed to meet local circumstance. This includes contributing to discussions with local policymakers on climate policies, being proactive in providing feedback to consultations which look to introduce or amend laws, and participating in relevant bodies like the Business Environment Council to influence and guide developments in this area. One example of a tool which we've developed for the business is our guidance on climate-related terminology. As the new standards are being developed to support entities to establish net zero targets, there's increasing scrutiny from customers, investors, regulators, and civil society groups on how these terms are used. This document was developed together with our strategy and sustainability teams to align how we use climate-related terminology to describe our products, our services, and activities, and to educate the business to guard against greenwashing risks. So I think I've tried to share with you the close collaboration between our legal team and the broader business as we try to both guard and enable the business as it moves forward. And I hope that I've given you some insight today into the role that we play in aiding the development of clean and future energy and promoting a green economy. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Corinne. Corinne has presented to us CLP as a major energy company, how they, through various ways, for example, the corporate culture or the different initiatives of the company, how they achieve different purposes in reducing the impacts to the environment, or more precisely, for example, low carbon energy development. Yeah, and we actually, I hear that there has been cross-border collaborations as early in the 1970s. So there has been a lot of good work done, and on the continuous basis, there will be a lot of good work to be done. And one word that Corinne has brought out is very important: collaboration. We are all here to explore how we can collaborate together, whether as a legal profession or with other profession or other communities, how we can collaborate our efforts in advancing the 8 major steps. That's why we're here. Okay, so thank you again, and let me introduce our third speaker. Just now we're talking about energy, and of course we are talking about transition, about how we use the energy transition, and of course we will remember one of the traditional ways, for example, fossils, other traditional methods. Sinopec has the largest number of gas stations in Hong Kong, yes, as I understand it. So we have invited Mr. Gordon Lam, Chief Supply Chain Officer from Sinopec Hong Kong Limited, to share with us, of course, not about fossil fuels, but more importantly, on the topics that we are here today, the green energy, also a very important speaker. Very quick introduction, perhaps no long explanation needed, but Gordon has been the deputy to the 14th National People's Congress, and he has had 20 years of experience, in more than that, of experience in technological and startup investments and global supply chain management for both consumer and energy sectors. He is also an adjunct associate professor and co-director, and an adjunct professor of the Center of Innovation Design and Entrepreneurship of the Chinese University of Hong Kong in Shenzhen. So a lot of good work in progress. So over to you, Gordon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here to join the Law Society's 7th Belt and Road Conference. I've been speaking in many different conferences, but I think this is the first time I joined Law Society's conference, and I hope this will not be my last time, and hopefully it will be many more times in the future. Thanks for the introduction. I come from Sinopec, Hong Kong. I'm sure many of you would know about Sinopec because, as Careen just talked about, we are actually having the most number of gas stations in Hong Kong. Right now we have got 54. And apart from gas station, you know, in every gas station, we have a convenience store inside. So we are also running one of the largest retail chains in Hong Kong, in which we have got 54 convenience stores. And apart from that, we are also supplying fuel oil for planes, for ships in Hong Kong. We are also supplying gasolines for all the government vehicles in Hong Kong, including the People's Liberation Army. And then we are also engaging in new energy as well. So we are really in the transition. And we are talking about hydrogen energy. And the good news to announce today as well, that we have just completed the building of our first hydrogen station in Hong Kong, and it will be opened to public next Tuesday. So it will be the first one in Hong Kong, and also in accordance with Hong Kong government's plan for hydrogen energy. You know, they have announced a blueprint for hydrogen energy earlier this year. Apart from hydrogen energy, the hydrogen station, we are going to introduce probably hydrogen energy production facility in Hong Kong as well. We are in serious consideration for that. Hopefully that would chip in a little bit more fuel into pushing Hong Kong regarding the use of new energy. And by the way, I'm sure you guys have already seen the double-deckers, hydrogen double-deckers in Hong Kong by Citybus. So that's why joining hands with the Hong Kong government, we are actually participating and contributing our part into bringing more green energy to Hong Kong. But in fact, Sinopec Group as a whole, we are in fact the largest hydrogen energy company in China. Apart from, you know, Sinopec itself is actually China's largest producer of oil and petroleum, and we are also the world's largest oil refinery company. And we also got the second largest sales network, distribution network for fuel oil products, and also petrochemical products, you know, especially the non-woven materials. Many tote bags with non-woven materials. The materials come, a lot of them are supplied by Sinopec, and also the materials for making our facial mask during COVID. You know, it's also one of the byproducts of our industry. The motto of Sinopec has always been better energy and better life. So over the years, apart from a very traditional fossil fuel business, we have been very actively trying to engage ourselves into many new sectors of green energy. So for example, we are starting to get into this business of low sulfur fuel oil. You know, just a few weeks ago, the government has also announced the plan that Hong Kong is going to be one of the major important node for using low sulfur fuel oil for oceanic vessels. So that would actually help to boost Hong Kong to become really, you know, Hong Kong is already a very important international shipping center, but the next wave of enhancing this, apart from providing shipping services, international shipping services, it's about how to encourage more ships to use low sulfur fuel oil when they pass through Hong Kong. And apart from hydrogen energy that I've just mentioned, we are also engaging in EV charging as well. Many of you might have thought that, oh, Sinopec, you are kind of like a fossil fuel company, very traditional one. But you know, from hydrogen energy to now EV charging, it's also our core business. So for example, in Hong Kong, there are already a few commercial car parks with the installments of Sinopec's EV charging tools. And at the same time, we have already started the implementation and construction of Hong Kong's first two EV charging car parks. So, so that's our investments and our contribution and our commitment to help Hong Kong to use and adopt more green energy. And it's not only about Hong Kong. In fact, in Belt and Road countries, we are also trying to get involved into more green energy sectors. So for example, the use and distribution of LNGs, and also another very big sector that we have engaged in Belt and Road countries is about geothermal energy. But this is not available in Hong Kong because of geographical location. And at the same time, we have been actively participating in many global initiatives, especially initiatives under the United Nations in research and R&D, in research and development of CCUS, carbon capture, utilization, and storage projects. In fact, we have already run over 20 such projects in China, and we are trying to export our experience in running CCUS plus new energy projects into Belt and Road countries. And not to mention that in some Belt and Road countries, we have started the implementation and distribution of biodiesel, and also trying to investigate the potential of getting into the shale oil industry as well. So you would see that all these new types of green energy initiatives have actually reshaped the potential and also the future development of Sinopec as not only a sort of like fossil fuel company, but in fact, we are trying to turn ourselves into really an energy company that incorporates both traditional fuel with new energy. So apart from all this, because we've got quite a number of listed companies, and right now for all listed companies, by default, ESG report would be very important, as not as a responsibility itself, but communication with potential stakeholders and investors. So we have been actively conducting a lot of ESG initiatives, and some of them also relates to Hong Kong as well. So for example, all our staff in Hong Kong basically participates in country park and beaches cleaning every month. And we have been actively participating in educating our young people in Hong Kong about clean energy. And I just mentioned about the establishment of the first hydrogen station in Hong Kong next week. And in the long run, we are trying to convert that hydrogen station into an education center for new energy. In fact, we are trying to put together gasoline, hydrogen, EV charging into one station to create a new form of energy station, which is very different from what we used to perceive in the past, just like gasoline stations. So that's why I think apart from our engagement into different sectors and at the same time trying to bring forward more green energy initiatives, we are also actively engaging in a lot of social communication and social activities trying to promote the use of green energy in Hong Kong and in many other countries abroad. So hopefully we will be announcing more initiatives in the future, and I think green energy is very good for finance as well, because you might not know, in fact, Sinopec in Hong Kong is also running one of the largest financial companies in Hong Kong, and we also got our own insurance company, which is a relatively less told side of Sinopec Hong Kong. And we are very strong in terms of green financing, and we think that if we do more in bringing up green energy, that would also be beneficial to us in terms of getting better financial terms from banks or having closer partnerships with our potential partners. So just to shed a little bit light on this topic and share with you some of the latest developments of Sinopec in Hong Kong, and hopefully we can actually get in hand-to-hand and to do more for the betterment of Hong Kong's environment and also Hong Kong's green energy development. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. So Gordon has illustrated to us how all the green energy, all the initiatives is relevant to our lives, to our daily lives. As lawyers, we go to the office on a daily basis, basically. So all the things that you use in the office, even the lifts that you take, how you can avoid walking up all the stairs to your office. It's all about electricity and also about energy. And Gordon has also shown to us we are facing an increasingly complex supply chain. So how we have to navigate new regulations and standards, and how we have to explore other alternatives or business solutions. That's not just for the sustainability of a big or small corporations alike, but also for perhaps on a broader note for human being, or for the mankind as a whole. So thank you so much. And now we turn to our online speaker. But before that, let me say, this morning we heard from Mr. Daniel Fung. He said he also joined COP29, and he brought us back a very good piece of news saying Hong Kong had the very first time being given a chance to share in COP29. So that's probably as an introduction for my fourth speaker, Mr. Hongpeng LIU. He is the Director of Energy Division of the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, ESCAP, of the United Nations. Hongpeng has over 30 years of experience on sustainable energy, and prior to joining the United Nations, he has served as government official in the areas of energy policies and plans, new and renewable energy industry development, environmental industry development, and climate change in the central government of China. He is leading the energy team in ESCAP now to promote the regional cooperation on energy in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, number 7 in particular, of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Agreement and the broader SDG agenda. He is also a member of the Technical Advisory Group on SDG 7 under the UN Energy, which is the United Nations mechanism for interagency collaboration in the field of energy. So, Hongpeng, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for this invitation. Sorry I cannot join you in person, although I wish to. Thank you for this opportunity. So according to this session about the promotion of green economy and use of clean and future energy, I think it's very important for this region. Let me just share my screen. I have prepared a presentation, just want to share with you. Right. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, excellent.
Okay, great. Just a few words about my organization. Actually, the Economic and Social Commission for Asia Pacific, it's under the United Nations Secretariat. We are based in Bangkok. We have 53 members and 9 associate members. Hong Kong is one of our 9 associate members together with Macau. And also our secretariat is mainly to support the sustainable development. As if you look at from the name, there are 5 regional commissions. Only 2 of the regional commission with the social aspects. The other regional commission, other 3 is only economic commission. So that's, you can see for Asia Pacific, we really focus on all the 3 pillars of sustainable development. And we support our member countries to develop their national objectives and strategies, especially to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. As Karen also mentioned, SDG 7 is one of the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is mainly focused on affordable and clean energy. So there are 3 targets under these goals. One is universal access. Second one is increase substantially the share of renewables. And third one is double the global rate of improve of energy efficiency. But this was agreed by all the member countries of General Assembly in 2015. And last year at COP28, actually there are 2 very concrete targets to supplement this. One is 3 times increase 3 times of the current in renewable energy capacity by 2030. So the current one is 2022. That was the last year's benchmark. And also double the global rate of improvement of energy efficiency. That to make very clear how the energy transition will focus. So you heard a lot of previous speaker talked about energy transition. I think energy transition is the ultimate goal from the energy sector to achieve sustainable development. So this SDG 7 is only up to 2030, but how we do it beyond 2030, I think that's still a long way to go. Because after 2030, our next goal is 2050. That is net zero emissions. So that means the energy sector will contribute to net zero emissions. So that, as you know, 60%, over 60% of greenhouse gas emission actually come from energy consumption. So if we really achieve this 2050 agenda, net zero, so that means the energy sector will transit from the fossil fuels to renewable energy-based fuels. So that means the system of the energy will have, almost net zero, from the consumption of energy. So what we do in ESCAP, actually we have 3 main functions in ESCAP. The first one is we provide intergovernmental platform for member countries to discuss about the policies, to discuss about good practices, and also to identify how regional cooperation can work together to achieve the sustainable development goals. And secondly, we also provide support for member countries, in particular the developing member states, for capacity building to support the member countries' capacity to achieve those goals. And third one, we also do analytical studies. We will provide those knowledge products to our member states for them to understand the overall regional situation and also how this region, where is this region located in the global picture. So that's what we usually do. So based on our energy analysis, the current progress from Asia and Pacific to achieve SDG 7 is off track. Especially if you look at the chart on the right-hand side. This is some information we shared with our member countries and to review the progress of these 3 goals. The access to clean, universal energy access, and the share of renewables, energy efficiency, mainly based the quantity of the number of energy intensity. So if you see all these 3 one, and for universal access to electrification in the region actually achieves very remarkable achievement, especially the electricity. Our target is by 2030 universal access. That means 100% of the population will access to electricity. Up to now, we already have 98.6%. So we expect that even before 2030, the region will have 100% of access to electricity. But the challenge is another indicator, access to clean cooking. We mean the clean cooking, that means mainly the LPGs and the electricity for cook. But at the moment, we only have 72% population access to clean cooking. So according to these development trends, if there's no accelerated kind of policies and support, so by 2030, we're probably less than 80% of the population in Asia Pacific. That means we still have 20% of the population without access to clean cooking. That is a big challenge for all the government to support their citizens to achieve the clean cooking. Clean cooking is one of the big issues for indoor pollution, especially in developing countries. They use firewood, use coal for cooking and heating. So that causes a lot of indoor pollutions for women and children. According to WHO, there are 4 million premature deaths each year, most of them because of indoor pollution. So that's really a big challenge for all the government to look at how to improve this. And the share of renewables, if you see currently 2023, we only have about 20% of renewables in total energy mix. So our goal is 3 times by 2030. This is a big challenge. And we look at these countries, we really need all the countries to work together and to bring that target to be materialized. The third one is energy intensity. So we are doing actually not as good as the average globally. So our expectation is by 2030, probably this region still need a great effort to achieve the average of energy intensity reduction. So currently the average globally for energy intensity reduction is 3.8. But if we reach net zero, we need 4.2% annually to reduce the energy intensity. So this region is doing something less than 3%. So that means we still have a big gap to achieve this development target by 2030. So I want also to share one of the areas, in addition to support member countries to achieve SDG 7, we also look at the power grid connectivity. It's one of the effective ways, the tools to support, to accelerate energy transition in this region. And in 2021, the members of ESCAP endorsed one regional roadmap to promote power system connectivity. So the target for regional power system connectivity is mainly to integrate more renewables into the power grid. If you look at Asia Pacific, the renewable energy resources is unevenly distributed among the different countries. But if you really want to scale up renewables, the interconnected kind of renewable energy project is one of the key, and to scale up renewable energy project. Of course, we have to also look at the decentralized renewable energy system, and that's one of the advantages for renewable energy technology. But still, if you want to scale up, and if you want to integrate with the current energy system, the integration of renewable energy electricity to power grid is one of the critical factor to consider. Take Hong Kong as an example. You know, Hong Kong, it's very limited with the land and the natural resources. So electricity imported from mainland. So currently, I think in Hong Kong, 60%, 70% of your electricity comes from fossil fuels, natural gas and coal. And if you want to achieve net zero, so one of the options is to import renewable energy electricity. Singapore set up a good example. Singapore set up 2050 to achieve net zero emissions. And also similar like Hong Kong, they couldn't just use their own resources because limited of territory. So they import hydropower from Laos. Last year, Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore sent the first, they call the renewable energy integration project. They import 100 megawatts from Laos directly to Singapore. So although it's not a big amount of electricity, but it's a very good start as a part of the ASEAN power grid. So this is a good example for other countries to follow. I think Hong Kong is also in the same kind of position. Hong Kong is a financing center. Hong Kong has a very advanced kind of banking system, and also high, educated citizens to accept this new energy, new clean energy, clean electricity. And Singapore already signed, in addition to Laos, Singapore also signed a MOU with Cambodia, with Vietnam and Indonesia to import their renewable energy electricity to support their clean energy target, especially the net zero emission target. So that's exactly, I think, the power grid connectivity will contribute to this, will contribute to regional cooperation to achieve net zero and the energy transition in particular. So we also worked with the member countries to have a framework for green power corridor. And I just came back from COP29 in Baku. This year, the presidency of COP29, Azerbaijan, they just launched their energy initiative. One is a green power, green energy zone. Second one is a green energy corridor. So that's all, based on this concept to integrate more renewables. And whenever you have the transport or pipeline or transmission lines to integrate the renewables, even the pipeline, as Golden mentioned, the pipeline for natural gas, and there are also pilots to integrate, the hydrogen hydrogen from renewables into the natural gas pipeline to just increase the share of renewables. That's another option probably in many of these places will consider. So our green power corridor framework is mainly, to provide a different kind of component for government to adopt this integration of renewables into the power grid, from the political will, from institutional framework, enabling financing, and the infrastructure support, the regulatory framework, and social acceptance. I also think, in Hong Kong, there are two things, financing and also infrastructure development and the regulatory framework could be your advantage to contribute to this kind of collaboration and energy transition. Especially like the law society, you have excellent lawyers to support this kind of energy transition needs, especially to set up a kind of regulations and the rules whenever there's a dispute, especially when you have more power grid connectivity, when you have more energy trade, renewable energy trade, you need a kind of institutional framework for abstraction or district or distribute solutions. I really think there are a lot of potential roles your society and your law society, and also this forum probably can continue this kind of a good discussion. And also finally, I just want to mention for this kind of green power corridor, there need a different kind of support from different kind of stakeholders and to contribute to the ultimate goal. That it will be to achieve SDG 7 target and also to long-term to achieve net zero emissions through regional cooperation. And one of the example, in addition to what I mentioned, Singapore, and there's also recently a new project in Laos. Laos has quite abundant hydropower resources, but now the government also look at to diversify their energy resources. So they have this 600 megawatts wind farm built in Laos, but that's exactly targeting to export this renewable energy electricity to Vietnam. This will be the first cross-border wind project in Asia. So we will expect more come from this kind of collaboration. So that's exactly in ESCAP, regional cooperation is our main focus. So we would like to support our member countries to work more and to implement this SDG 7 target and also the regional roadmap on power system connectivity. We also look at, that's good connections to contribute to Belt and Road Initiative. Actually, on the ESCAP, we have an expert working group specifically focused on power grid connectivity. There are a lot of discussions along with this Belt and Road Initiative and also like other countries' cross-border initiatives in this region, and to synchronize this kind of initiatives to jointly contribute to long-term development sustainable goals. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Hongpeng. Now, another round of applause. Last, but certainly not the least, right? I say the Law Society is very lucky to be able to bring in different perspectives. And in fact, I also find ourselves lucky because the COP29 has just about to finish, and we do hear from speakers both this morning and just now from Hongpeng about the latest news about what's going on a bigger platform. And one word that Hongpeng also brought out, one important element, sustainability. It's not just about sustainability in terms of energy. We're also talking about sustainability in terms of connectivity and also the system connectivity. Of course, Hongpeng just now said cross-border power system connectivity. I look forward to more opportunities for different organizations, including more opportunities for Law Society and ESCAP to continue to discuss, collaborate, and explore. And so we have the opportunity to hear from all our distinguished speakers on the individual presentation. Of course, we also want to hear some of the things that we might also want to ask. And of course, being your moderator, I take the privilege to raise the first question. And this morning, we talked about the Belt and Road Initiative going on to another golden stage. Because we just celebrated the 10th anniversary last year, and then we are moving on to another 10-year. And this second stage, if I may put it that way, or the golden era, we're talking about small but nice things, 小而美. So may I invite all the speakers who are both physically and online to share your views as to how perhaps SMEs might explore their opportunities in the Belt and Road Initiative in terms of both the legal markets or in the markets that you are aware of? No need to raise your hand, just grab the mic.
Yeah,
Corinne, please.
I'm happy to talk from the legal perspective. And we often face similar situations with our company when we look to go into new jurisdictions. And I think one of the key messages that I would give to the SMEs, which is exactly the same message I give to our business, is never assume it's going to be the same. So the laws may differ, and how the laws work and are applied may differ. And even the smallest differences can actually have a big impact on your business. So try and make the time to get educated on how things work, from how contracts are interpreted to how they're enforced to how you would resolve a dispute. Each jurisdiction is going to have a slightly different approach, and while subtle, it can be impactful.
Thank you, Corinne. Yes, Gordon.
Yeah, maybe I chip in a little bit. When we develop relatively mega projects overseas or even in Hong Kong, we tend to work more with small, medium enterprises. So, apart from working with really major energy partners, but we do find that many, for example, energy startups in Hong Kong or in other parts of Asia, they have got many good patents and good technologies, but then they are relatively small in size. It's very important for them to partner with big companies in order to make themselves more visible to the industry. But at the same time, working with this sort of like small, medium enterprises, particularly in energy-related projects, also help us to innovate ourselves internally. As we grow big, we really find innovation getting slower and slower. But then by working with external small, medium size startups in the energy sector, we do see that they channel and fuel us more energy to really change ourselves, the way how we do things, and probably give us a lot of ideas on how to adopt new technology, especially like smart energy technologies, into our traditional ways of conducting projects. So I think in the long run, small, medium enterprises would also get a share or get this opportunity to work with big energy companies, particularly when we need to get smarter in terms of our whole system, when we need to get into new fields. For example, our EV charging business, we partner with many small, medium-sized tech companies instead of really working with the big ones. So in that case, we can build this whole ecosystem, and the whole ecosystem will be healthier as well as. So I think small, medium enterprises, although they might be, a little bit small and might not, sometimes when it comes into compliance or even when it comes into like getting their product certified, they might need to overcome a lot of stuff before they can work with big corporations. But in fact, if we can actually bring them into our ecosystem, I think it's mutually beneficial.
Thank you. Oh, yes, Joseph.
Thank you. Well, indeed, for SMEs,
I think there are different ways to help them adopt green finance as well from our side. Well, first of all, SME can apply for green loans. Under the Hong Kong as a government, we actually have a green and sustainable finance grant scheme where we subsidize bond issuers to issue green bonds, but also to subsidize loan borrowers for green loans as well. Actually, in order to accommodate more SMEs to do that, we lower the minimum threshold from 200 million Hong Kong to 100 million Hong Kong dollars for the minimum size for green loans. And then we will subsidize them in terms of the external review service so that it's easier for them to finance in terms of the services to meeting certain green standards. And also, the government also launched what we call a green and sustainable finance capacity building pilot scheme. Basically, we subsidize professionals on green finance to get certain training in that sense, so that I think people from corporates, including those from SMEs, they can get subsidies for training so that they would know how to apply these green standards when the applications for green loans, and also in terms of financial reporting related to ESG and green going forward. The other thing I would like to highlight is that we understand that certain SMEs might not have the expertise in terms of comparing to listed companies for showing the commitment or in terms of climate and environmental risk issue. So that a couple of years ago, we actually developed a climate and environmental risk questionnaire for non-listed companies and for SMEs. So that with this questionnaire as a form, then it's easier for them to complete the reporting process of to disclose the climate and environmental risks, so that they can use that to showcase how they address these risks in front of the investors, lenders, and also supply chain clients as well, so that they'll have easier access to sustainability financing. So we try different avenues in terms of talents, in terms of subsidies for green loans, and in terms of questionnaires, a pro forma to help them get more green and sustainable finance for SMEs.
Thank you, Joseph. I say SMEs, there's nothing to be worried about being too small or being not big enough, I would say. In fact, Hongpeng, correct me if I'm wrong. As I understand it, the United Nations actually has designated a day every year in June to remind the international community the contributions of small and medium enterprises in contributing to, for example, the GDP. Because globally, or in Hong Kong, or even we bring back to the legal profession, SME constitutes the majority of the number of enterprises in different scales, as I said, globally, or in Hong Kong, or in the legal profession. In Hong Kong, we have 920-something law firms. We have close to 90 and 88% of our firms are small and medium-sized firms. And that actually resembles what we have in Hong Kong's economy or globally. So Hongpeng, talking about United Nations, can I ask something from you? Certainly, you have a very profound experience in promoting regional cooperation on energy, on SDGs internationally. Can I ask, are there any significant barriers that you have encountered in promoting this initiative? What are the greatest barriers that you have come across? And any suggestion that you think we can, for example, we can watch out more to hopefully drive our efforts together to work on that?
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for this question. I just want to add one point for SMEs. You know, I'm working here. Often I met those people approached me from SMEs, from China, from other countries. More and more China small and medium-sized enterprises, they are looking at their market overseas. But when they started thinking about this, especially from renewable energy side, they always say they don't know much about the policies and the market in those countries. They really need some kind of information they can access. And also at the same time, the risk is investment. They have technology, sometimes they even have money, but the investment risk is very high. So if there's any services like your society or some others can provide this kind of information, that could be very useful. And take about your point about the barriers. I think, of course, this information access barrier is one of it. But the most important part is the financing for energy transition. So I think even in COP29, currently the bigger kind of issue is how to get the money to invest in greenhouse gas emission reductions and on energy transition, mitigation part and adaptation. So this is really the big issue and also the barriers. But we also look at the policy side. A lot of countries, they have already built up their own policy framework for their energy transition. But the implementation is also limited because this kind of investment and finance, especially for developing countries. Those developing countries include this landlocked, developed country and the small island state, that they don't have their own capacity. They really need the international support and to work together. Otherwise, this will be, they will be left behind. One of the like target for agenda 2030 agenda for sustainable development is no one left behind. So that's really we need to work together to help them and help those developing countries to address this financing and investment issues. Of course, the discussion on climate change is one of the example. There are many, even for industry development, they also need to mobilize this kind of investment to support their industry system in those countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hongpeng raised a very good point is about risk. Doing business certainly involves a lot of risk. Lawyers, solicitors are very good at helping clients to manage risk. So if I may also do a little bit of advertisement for our solicitors profession, for our legal profession, we can certainly help our clients to analyze the risk and manage the risk that you are exploring in other businesses. And we can certainly collaborate and see how we can navigate the new areas of opportunities. So, Joseph, can I come back to you? If my research is correct, I understand that you once suggested that Hong Kong is going to overtake Switzerland as the world's top destination for for cross-border wealth management in a certain number of years. In your capacity as the Undersecretary, how do you think Hong Kong can leverage our special position to develop a greener, more sustainable economy? And what do you think are the initiatives and probably policies that might be implemented to encourage the financial sector or the legal sector can help to play a leading role in the transition to a better economy?
Thank you, sure. Well, to begin with, the prediction was not made by myself. I was just quoting industry reports. As I said earlier, I think it was UBS that predicted us to take over Switzerland in 2017, and it was BCG that predicted us to take over Switzerland in 2028. But the theme is very consistent, which is we are the largest in Asia, and they both of the institutions believe that we will become the world's largest offshore cross-border wealth center in the world in a few years' time. Leveraging on that, of course, we can help channel investment, green capital, to support the green transformation of economy in Hong Kong and China, Asia, and beyond. Indeed, if you look around, increasingly more investors are looking for green investment for different reasons. Some of them just out of their support for green economy. So they want to make sure that investment also comply with certain green standards to help combating climate change globally. For the other reason, there's also commercial reason, by the way. There is empirical studies by different reports showing that companies that can have that met the green bond standard, for example, might perform better in terms of bond price, in terms of equity performance to those who do not meet the green bond standards. The potential reasons are that maybe by complying with these green standards global, that means they have better corporate governance. And with better corporate governance, that might mean better management quality or so. The other angle is that because some clients or some investors globally, they only invest in green bonds, they only invest in ESG companies. So if you invest in these green bonds or ESG companies, then when you want to sell them, there are more eligible buyers to buy them on the secondary markets. So that improves your bid offer prices as well. So for various potential reasons, empirical studies show that these companies, bonds, equities, in line with green bond standard or ESG requirements, might have better performance. So that's why we do see globally there are increasingly more investors, private investors as well, looking for ESG investment, green investment. And indeed, that will help Hong Kong grow as a green financial center as well. Because since we are sitting on the largest pile of cross-border wealth in this region, and using our professional services, using our reputation, we can help channel those to support the green projects, green companies in Hong Kong, China, Asia, and beyond. And indeed, from our standpoint, we want to do well in green finance for two main reasons. One, of course, is the business reason, because if we do well in green finance, we'll gain more market share in that aspect. But also secondly, we are already the premium financial center in Asia. So I think it's also the responsibility of a global citizen using our strength to help the green transformation of the economy globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Talking about cross-border, Corinne, can I turn to you? Certainly, you have a very good experience in advising major player companies in cross-border activities, because you mentioned just now the collaboration started very early. Certainly, there are complexities involved, and these complexities, in fact, evolve over the years. So that's why we need to keep abreast and keep learning and never assume things are always the same. So what is your current evaluation or your current thoughts as to the key legal challenges that perhaps SME or corporations face, and how lawyers, for example, from an in-house point of view or from lawyers' point of view, how we can assist?
I think there are multiple challenges, and I think for lawyers to be able to assist, they need to be sort of part of the team that's doing the work and not sitting on the side and giving advice from the sidelines. But I think, as you mentioned earlier, lawyers are trained at identifying risk. And what I always say sort of with my team is, yes, we need to identify the risk, but we've got to be part of the solution. So we really need to have that focus. And I think as you go cross-border, as I said earlier, you really need to take the time to understand what's different in the jurisdiction that you're moving into. And it might not just be the laws, it can actually just be the way that business is carried out and that different practices are followed, and that you need to follow a different process in order to get something done. But I think it also comes down to your choice of partner. As Gordon said, often when you're going into a new jurisdiction, it's helpful to have a local partner who can navigate the system with you. And I think it's sort of breaking down each block of the transaction that you're looking to do. Are you looking to set up a presence? Are you looking to supply goods or services? Are you looking to build something? And understanding what's required in order to achieve each of those elements.
Very true. Just now you mentioned that local partners, and because here in the audience, I'm sure there are a lot online, but I can't see through the wires, through the cables. But as I understand from our those physically present, we not just have local lawyers, we also have counterparts and lawyers and friends from other jurisdictions as well, also including mainland counterparts. So certainly these are opportunities for us to collaborate, because no one knows everything in the universe, I would say. So that's why there are ample chances that we can talk and think more together. Gordon, I won't leave you alone. I won't let you go without asking you something. certainly you have a lot of experience or dealings with mainland counterparts. So if I may follow on just now on issues about mainland counterparts, so what do you think are the best experience or whether there are any words of advice from you when we are collaborating with counterparts or friends from other jurisdictions, be it lawyers or business counterparts. So we're not just talking about how others learn from us, we can also talk about how we learn from others as well. So, yeah.
All right, thanks for that. I think particularly like working with a lot of like growing Chinese companies, I think many of them used to work in an environment in which they gained a lot of like government support. So some companies would take this for granted. So they would think that, okay, if I come to Hong Kong or if I go to overseas countries, I might request or demand some sort of like government support in terms of like funding or policies, so to say. But then we know that the international environment is very different from like mainland, and you know you need to really adapt your business models or your way how you work according to the local jurisdiction and also to local cultures and business culture in particular. So I think that's one thing that we professionals in Hong Kong could actually bring our expertise to help these Chinese companies when they try to cooperate more with international partners. So I think that's also one thing that Joseph mentioned about. So we can actually serve internationally as kind of like not only financially but then legally and also like professionally in all business sectors. And I think another thing is about the way how mainland companies really move forward is really fast. So their turnaround is very fast. When they think about something, they will take action immediately. But then somehow, I would say, the risk assessment might not be as thorough as we practice in Hong Kong. So I think that's also something that we can actually chip in. So our expertise in terms of project management, our considerations and our efforts into taking things like due diligence, I think all these could actually help our mainland Chinese partners to really adapt themselves when they integrate their business and work closer with international partners. So although they are fast, but I think our professionalism could actually fit in and to make this more a perfect thing.
Thank you, Gordon. I have been reminded the time is up. Actually, I have a quick question from the floor, but it's as a lawyer, I'm not sure if I totally understand the answer to that question. But anyway, I'll share it. And then for the speakers to perhaps after the session, and then we can share in other occasions. The question is: shale oil extraction poses questions about management issues, environmental management issues. For example, waste disposal, extensive water use, or air pollution, possibly. So how is this environmental problem being addressed? So that's one of the energy source. Perhaps we can keep abreast of the different kinds of energy sources, resources, and is it sustainable, renewable, and yeah, so we can keep abreast of that. But if I may, before I invite a round of applause, I try to very quickly wrap up. I guess a few words or keywords that are here today. Give me a round of applause if you agree. Transition. We are facing an important era where we need to learn a lot of new things and get ourselves used to a lot of new rules or standards or new practices. Collaboration, so we're certainly not alone. We need to do it continuously. That's why we need sustainability in terms of the resources, in terms of the collaboration. We need to be sustainable and also never assume that things are always the same. So that's why we are always ready to work with our clients to assist them with any opportunities that they wish to pursue. So please join me in a round of applause to all our speakers. Yes. Also online. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the valuable insight from which we have learned a lot. Maybe I now invite Ms. Wong to present some souvenirs to the guest speakers as a token of appreciation.
So I will have it sent back to Hongpeng later.
for Ms. Wong and all the guest speakers to remain on stage for a group photo. Thank you.
The discussion of Section 2 ends here. Please enjoy some refreshment at the foyer, and Section 3 will start at 3:50 p.m. And for online participants, it is not necessary to log out of the session. See you again shortly.